Here's the pattern I've watched play out more than once. A company finally decides to get serious about safety. They post the rec, they pay for a good one, 15 years, right industry, references all check out. 14 months later, that person is gone. Nothing was wrong with the hire. Everything was wrong with the order they did it in. Last video, I laid out what fractional EHS leadership is and what the first 90 days actually looks like. This is one in the harder conversations underneath it. Most companies don't hire safety leadership too late. They hire it in the wrong order, and the person they hire pays for it. I'm Corey Robinson, 22 years in EHS, plant floor to global manufacturing programs. Put yourself in that director's first week. There's no honest baseline, the numbers don't exist, but nobody can tell you whether they're real or whether people just stopped reporting. There are written programs in a binder, most of them written by someone who left in 2019, describing a process that's been reconfigured a couple of times now. There's no cadence. Safety gets discussed when something happens. And there are no decision rights. This person cannot stop a line. They cannot hold a plant manager accountable for corrective actions that are 60 days old. They report to an executive who sees them twice a quarter. Meanwhile, they're being measured on lagging numbers driven almost entirely by conditions that they do not yet control. So they spend a year one building the system. They were hired to run all by themselves while being graded on outcomes of the system that don't actually produce anything yet. That's not a knowledge problem. That's what I call the strategy execution gap, the distance between what leadership decided and what actually happens on the facility floor. And no amount of technical expertise closes it from below. So that person doesn't leave because the job is hard. They leave because the job was impossible as it was scoped. Here's this distinction almost nobody makes when they write a job description. There are two completely different jobs inside it. The first is design work, where you actually sit versus where leadership believes you sit. A roadmap with dates and named owners, most of whom are not the safety person. Decision rights are written down and understood. What goes on the tiered daily management board, what a supervisor owns versus what safety owns. One incident, so your site to produce data that adds up. The review cadence and who runs it. Work is finite. It's senior. It's maybe a couple hundred hours spread across a few quarters. The second is running work. Training, delivery, inspections, records, contractor onboarding, corrective action follow-up, audit preparation. That work is continuous. It's mid-level, and it really never ends. Hire one person for both, and here's what happens. They do the running work like they know how to, because the running work is urgent, and then the actual design work is only important in the moment. So you just paid director rates for coordinator hours, and you got neither of the jobs done that you wanted. And this is why you can't hire your way up the EHS Maturity Ladder. It's really 5 stages: reactive, compliant, managed, integrated, self-correcting. Reactive to compliant is a design problem. Compliant to managed is a leadership behavior problem. Neither one is solved by adding headcount. The most common diagnostic failure I see is a company sitting at one stage, making the hire that fits for a completely different stage, because that's what they hire. They hire what they know. Most plants I walk into already have somebody carrying safety. As an operations manager wearing it as a second hat, a coordinator who came off the floor, sometimes a genuinely sharp EHS professional who just is early in their career. That person knows every operator by name. They know which press has the questionable guard. They know exactly who to talk to when something needs to move today. They are not underqualified. They are underpositioned. They have the relationships and no leverage. They can't set decision rights for people senior to them. They can't sit across from a CFO and defend a capital request in the language of a CFO. They can't tell a plant manager no. So fractional leadership doesn't replace the need for that person. It supplies the layer above them, the strategy, the executive access, the accountability structure, so their relationship finally have something to push against. That's the engagement I like the most. Honestly, someone on the inside who already has the trust, the system built around them that makes their trust productive. I'd rather be straight with you than sell a model that doesn't fit. There are tons of conditions where you need a full-time person in the building every day, and you should stop watching and go and hire one. If your hazard profile demands daily technical judgment, a PSM covered process, high volume energy control, or confined space work, an active permit environment, if you're at real scale, a site with well over 1,000 people across multiple shifts, if you're under enforcement or settlement with monitoring obligations, or if you're in a genuine crisis post-fatality or an operational freefall, those need a resident leader. If fractional can direct that work, they can't be there every day. And anyone telling you otherwise is overselling you. Outside those conditions, examine the assumption. Because here's the part that matters. The success metric of a fractional engagement is the date it ends. When you do make that full-time hire, the difference is what they walk into on day one is a roadmap with dates and owners. Safety already sitting inside a meeting an operating leader runs, not a separate safety meeting, at least one site leader who's already been held accountable for something. So the organization knows it's real. Decisions rights are already written down. Clean incident data already exist. They don't spend a year one building. They spend it running. And they stay because the system is built and designed for them to come in and be successful. So 2 things you can do this week before you post anything. Ask 3 supervisors who owns safety on their line. Listen to the exact wording they use. That tells you where you actually are on your safety journey. Then take the work you were about to hire for and sort it into 2 columns. Senior judgment and volume, and then look at the ratio. If it's mostly volume, you're about to pay a director's salary for a coordinator's job. And in 14 months, you'll be posting the same rec again. At Fractional EHS, we build the system first. Then we hand you the keys. That's the intent behind hiring a senior level EHS executive versus hiring somebody off the door. The work is completely different. It's like startup versus a well-established business. In startup, the business is kind of chaotic, and you need people that can take that chaos and create clarity out of it. And that is one skill set. You wouldn't hire a senior operations person that has never been in a startup environment for a new startup. Also, that person probably won't transition well into professional management. And that's why a lot of companies, as they grow, shift their leadership team from kind of startup founder mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset, to what is professional management. Because once the system is designed, up and running, evolved, and it's been iterated many times, really the competencies to be successful change. And that's really where we come in and help. In Fractional EHS is we do the design work. We set up the systems. We create the expectations. We align the team. We take that chaos and put our arms around it, turn it into something that can be managed day to day. So if you're in one of these situations, please give us a call or look us up at fractionalehs.io.